The boy has long hair, usually wears women's clothes. He loves to dance ballet. He can enter the women's locker room freely. He could even go to the women's bathhouse to take a shower. The girls have already treated him as a good sister, but he had a very low self-esteem. He would use tape to tighten his penis to keep it from showing. The boy's name was Lara. This is the girl's name he gave himself, although a man's body, but he has the soul of a woman. Fortunately, he had an enlightened father. Not only did he support his inclination, he also found a professional medical team for him. Hope that through the operation to make Lara become a real girl. But this surgery is risky. It requires a series of assessments and preparations before it can begin. Until then, Lara was in her teenage years. In order to suppress the appearance of more masculine features, he would have to take estrogen for a long time. To make him look like a girl, Lara loved to dance. But he didn't join the ballet class until he was 15. He started late compared to other girls, so he had to work twice as hard to practice, but he was still a boy after all. His thick limbs make it hard for him to keep his balance. One pair of feet is also huge. Every time he practiced dance, his toes would break the skin and bleed. He also refused to stop, so he spent more time after class to work hard. When he got home, he kept pressing his injured toes. No one can change his determination. Just like becoming a girl, it's a dream he'll never give up. In order not to be treated as an alien, whenever Lara practiced martial arts, he would wrap the tape tightly between his legs, so it was very difficult for him to go to the toilet. So he didn't take any water during class, but ballet makes him sweat a lot. The body is seriously dehydrated. So much so that once class was over, Lara would rush into the single toilet as fast as she could, locking the door behind her, gulping down tap water. Then she would get her hands wet to remove the tape and tear her flesh to the point of pain. Not only did Lara have to endure physical torture, psychologically, too. Although his classmates accepted him for who he was, but there was still some talk.
Ik ga jou zo dadelijk vragen, Lara, om jouw ogen dicht te doen. En dan ga ik aan de andere meisjes vragen of zij...
Although no girl raised her hand, but Lara will still feel a little sad, because he's not really a girl. He hates this man's body now. He would turn away in front of the mirror and not look at it. Ever since the doctor told Lara she could schedule the surgery, he became more and more anxious. This day he was dressing his brother. His brother was squirming and didn't want to wear it. The brother called out Laura's original boy's name. This made Lara very angry. He gave her brother an angry lecture. Every day before the surgery was a torture for Lara. There were always a million voices reminding him, "You're still a man." Laura's mental state became worse and worse. A man and a woman in a room together. The girl takes the initiative. The boy falls instantly. When the next step is about to happen, the girl escapes. It's not that she's trying to get away, but the girl is hiding a secret. He's actually a man. When Lara was in counseling with her doctor, the doctor asked him if he had a boy he liked. Lara looked very inferior. He couldn't accept the idea of being loved as a boy. He was always afraid. Even if the operation was successful, no one would accept him. His father reassured him. His father always encouraged him behind his back, soothing his inner anxiety. Lara knew that the neighbor boy had been watching her. He couldn't help but be impressed. Stealing the boy's envelope, delivered it to his door in person, lying that the letter was sent to his house by mistake. The boy showed a look of understanding, invites Lara in for a drink of water. Under the ambiguous light, the love in the eyes of the two slowly reveals. But once Lara came home, she had to face the cruel reality again. The naked man in the mirror was still a man. He wanted to have female features as soon as possible. He takes more androgen than he should, and asks the doctor to prescribe more. But the doctor refused. Overdosing can cause damage to the body. In the end, he might not even be able to withstand the surgery. The doctor told Lara to take it easy, stay healthy and wait for the surgery. But life always gives him a hard time. The day the ballet girls met, they all split up and put on a casual dress show. Lara was enjoying herself. At that moment someone asked to see Lara's privacy. Lara's face smiled, but inside is very resistant. This is certainly an insult to him. The girls gathered around him, saying that if Lara wanted to be a girl, then he had to fit in with them like this. Being forced to want Lara to pull down her pants and lift her shirt. It's worse than killing him. The girls just laughed and laughed, as a form of entertainment. On the way home, Lara fought back tears. Faced with his father's concern, he hid his wounds with a smile. No one could really understand his feelings. He had to bear everything himself. It wasn't long before Lara went back for a checkup. The doctor said he had lost a lot of weight. He was advised not to go dancing again. There was also an infection in his lower body due to the tape. The surgery had to be postponed. This makes the already anxious Lara more anxious. Meanwhile, ballet performance was coming up. This was his first chance to appear on stage. He could not give up, even if his body was exhausted. He would never stop spinning the dance, but such persistence was the cause of his death. Eventually he couldn't bear it and collapsed on the ground. He wanted to be a real girl, although he wore makeup and a dress, but when he stood in front of the mirror, the flat chest and the annoying reaction in the morning reminded him all the time that he was a boy. Lara was exhausted. After she collapsed, his father locked the door to his room. He wouldn't let him go back to ballet. This time Lara really broke down. The toes that were worn out countless times, days and nights of hard training, to get a chance to go on stage just like that. He could only be a spectator on the stage, watching the sisters on stage dancing. It was like the farthest distance in the world. Everything was passing him by. Even the surgery was now a long way off. Everything is back to square one again, but life goes on. Lara is still using the fake girl look. She's still spending time with her family. New Year's Eve was a lively affair. Although Lara was all smiles and entertaining guests, but when he was left alone, he would show his heartache. He was in a desperate situation. When the family left the next day, he took out ice cubes, prepared a pair of scissors, then dialed for help, leaves an address, then went back to his room. He doesn't want to wait any longer for any reason. No one could stop him from being a girl. He took matters into his own hands, and when he woke up, his father had been waiting for a long time. This poor boy had suffered so much physically and mentally. Lara laughed, a joy from his heart. Soon after, a graceful woman appeared on the street. That is officially Lara's dream has finally come true. This is the end of the film. An era of true freedom is not to use gender as a ruler. No matter what kind of birth, everyone is a free agent in terms of gender. They have their own personalities and lives. I like Lara a lot. When he sent his brother to kindergarten, the teacher asked him if you are his sister. Lara first hesitated for a second, but soon smiled and nodded her head. Her tone of voice was crisp and light, with a smile on her face that she couldn't contain. It was as if she had won the approval of the whole world. The recognition of this attribute is precious and irreplaceable. And irreplaceable meaning, the obsession with ballet has risen to an incredibly strong belief. So strong that it overcomes all obstacles, even by the most primitive means. To overcome physical obstacles, even if the pain is unspeakable. Lara doesn't have many lines in the movie. Subtle changes in expression, body movements are enough to convey the pain of the character. The good thing is that in the end Lara finally gently raised the corners of her mouth, slightly raised her head. That kind of freedom and confidence after the storm is undoubtedly the most beautiful shot